Welcome back. This is game 2 of this best of 2 series between Raiders of the Lost Slark and Well Played. I'm Zeron for terrible damage. Well Played is up 1-0 in this one. Pulling out a big victory in game 1, looking to continue and repeat their performance as well. This time taking up the Radiant side with first pick. First game action packed, particularly in the first 20 minutes. Kills everywhere and often. Often simultaneously, making my job very difficult. As it is, though, could go either way in game 2, just as it could have in game 1. Darkseer going to be the first pick in this game 2. I do have to say, I've mentioned this before, but there's just such a nice variety now in the top tier of heroes. Batrider tends to be, the number 1, and then Io is number 2. But after that, there really isn't any more. Like, this is number 3, this is number 4. You ban these 4, then you pick this guy first. It's not nearly that predictable anymore. Of course, Darkseer shows up. You see a lot of the same faces. Lifestealer, another one. But it's not... If his hero gets through, you pick him. That just doesn't happen so much anymore. So it's a lot more fun to see what direction the different teams go. It lets you see a lot more style per team. As we see Raiders of the Lost Slark. We didn't see Lifestealer get picked or banned in game 1. Going to see him immediately picked up by Raiders of the Lost Slark, along with Shadow Demon, who works as sort of a soft counter, a support that does relatively well as a counter pick, because Demonic Purge is a good slow through that rage magic immunity. Which really, when he's raged, you just want to get away from him until that's over. Purge helps that happen. Well Played, not quite sure what they want to go for. Naga Siren, they're going to stick to what worked. So far, no deviation from their play in game 1. All their heroes are also available. We'll see if we end up seeing a ban on, say, a Timbersaw or an Ancient Apparition or a Gyrocopter. I expect a Gyrocopter ban right now. Do it. Show me I'm right. Gyro? Is it going to be banned? Come on. You know you want to ban it. And there it is. See? I know these things. You should listen to me. Clearly I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, they starting off with the same 2 picks. It just makes logical sense to take out that gyro. Core to what they were doing in game 1, and if nothing else, it doesn't mean that you can't deal with it or couldn't beat their strat in game 1, but by removing it, you take them out of their comfort zone a little bit, and that almost always helps out. And then Outworld Devourer, meanwhile, Well Played, banning out the mid heroes. We'll see if we end up having Bad Fetus in towards mid on Darkseer.
10 seconds remaining.
Made it really work in game 1. A lot of movement, controlled all the runes. Held down Banon quite well, and really helped turn around what was a failing tri-lane down bottom. And then Phantom Lancer. Alright then, this is interesting now, because the lanes just got very complicated for the Raiders of the Lost Slark. Once in a while you'll see a Lifestealer go off lane, but that's a very situational thing, so you don't draft into it. So that's unlikely, but possible. You could throw Lifestealer directly in the jungle. That's kind of slow and weird to draft in that manner while picking Phantom Lancer now.
5 seconds remaining.
There's the possibility of putting Lifestealer mid. That could reasonably be the plan, considering Darkseer was mid last game. It did really well for them. They're probably assuming it's mid once again. So that may be the idea, and I think that is the idea. However, Another one that's completely reasonable would be to put the aggressive tri-lane, Shadow Demon Lifestealer +1, Phantom Lancer solo top, up against who knows, and then we have a mid unknown for Raiders of the Lost Slark. That could work, but we don't know who Phantom Lancer is against right now. It could be Darkseer, or it could be a different offlaner. It could be another aggressive tri-lane coming out of Well Played, because that's what they did in Game 1. There's a lot of question marks there. Well Played ends up grabbing the Keeper of the Light, probably as a block pick, to be honest. We're not seeing a lot of Keeper of the Light anymore. So just suddenly seeing that after the Phantom Lancer, I have to say that was just, you know what, we can't ban him, so we're just going to pick him now.
Remaining. Reserve time.
In his stead, Raiders of the Lost Slark, do not hesitate. Nyx Assassin going to be the pick. They have their supports, they have their 2 cores. We'll see what the last one is. It should give us a clue to their laning. I think with Nyx Assassin, it indicates a little more towards my idea of a mid-life stealer. Shadow Demon Nyx Lifestealer, not a bad aggressive tri-lane, but you could do better in terms of burst. You'd probably want a combo for Shadow Demon, Slark, Lina, to do a bit more burst damage and have more ranged harass possibility, as opposed to the dual melee combo with Impale, which isn't necessarily the most burst, and then Razor as something of a counter pick to the Lifestealer, as Static Link going to go through Rage, drain his damage in a fight because he wants to be in close, and that can really cause a lot of problems for him. However, Phantom Lancer is the core here, so I wonder about the pick. I think it loses some of its effectiveness. But if they're expecting an aggressive tri-lane, if they want a defensive tri-lane, the Razor, it could work out as kind of a counter initiation, not allowing them to really get anything done. However, Razor not necessarily has risen a lot more in terms of the mid position. There isn't as much experimentation with the defensive tri-lane Razor. Really, it's normally mid and aggressive tri-lane that you're seeing out of him. There's still one more pick to go, and with the mid and hard carry unclear, the last pick will have to clarify that, waiting on the final bans, though, from each team. So, I do say there's a lot of question marks up. Is that defensive tri-lane Razor? Is it aggressive tri-lane Razor? Is it mid Razor? Where is Lifestealer going? Is he in a tri-lane? Is he mid? So, there is that strength on both sides from both these teams in terms of their drafts, where you can't nearly as easily predict where everybody is going. I say all that, and even Darkseer, we don't know right now. I'm assuming mid because of how well it worked out in Game 1, and they seem to want to kind of stick to what they were doing in Game 1 given their first 2 picks. However, they don't have to.
10 seconds remaining.
Mid Darkseer is an outlier. He's normally off lane.
Remaining. Reserve
So
time.
we'll see what happens. Final ban is the Timbersaw. Not wanting to see that once again. Down to 30 seconds reserve time. Thinking this one through carefully. They seem to have as many questions as I do about how Raiders wants to run this.
10 seconds remaining.
And then the final ban will be Magnus. So looking at a mid. I do hope to see the Lifestealer in toward mid. The difficulty, though, is that they don't have last pick. Well Played could throw a wrench in that idea completely and pick a mid of their own. They could actually pick a carry and throw Darkseer off lane and defensively try lane with the Razor in mid.
Reserve time.
So that flexibility means that trying to predict lanes with the Lifestealer mid could backfire. And then Invoker, so there's your mid. Or could be your solo safe lane. In fact, there's still questions there because that's a solo lane. So expect it. I'm going to say aggressive tri lane with Lifestealer, Shadow Demon, Nyx Assassin, solo safe lane, Phantom Lancer, mid Invoker, I believe would be the most likely combination there. That should clear us up in terms of what's most likely. Well played. Waiting for them to do the same. Not a whole lot of reserve time left over. If they're not sure, then Templar, Assassin, they do go for a mid as their last pick. That does put Darkseer into the off lane. That will be a safe lane. Razor farming it up. And with that, we're ready to go into game 2 as soon as the players are. TA versus Invoker should be a fun, old school matchup. Introducing our teams. First up, Raiders of the Lost Slark. On that Invoker will be Banan going Salve, Blades of Attack, and a Branch. Normally think of Tango Blades of Attack, but same idea. Next up we've got Typhoon playing the Lifestealer. Joined up will be Silva playing the Phantom Lancer. Supported by Arch, the Shadow Demon. And then Tealtonic on the Nyx Assassin. Actually looks like a Jungle Lifestealer as well. For Well Played, coming into this game up 1-0. Bad Fetus leading the way as the Templar Assassin should be headed toward mid. Entire team up here. Underix will be playing the Keeper of the Light as there's pings out on him. And we have Soldaku once again on the Naga Siren. Kirkiki will be playing Razor this game. And then finally we have Richard Nixon Assassin, this time on the Darkseer. So in fact, I'm incorrect. We do have, as mentioned, a possibility of just jungling the Lifestealer. And they're abandoning the off lane in this case. And it will in fact then be an aggressive tri lane with the Razor, Keeper of the Light, and Naga Siren. A very different feel to the lanes this game. Now there's a bit more synergy, I feel, in the aggressive tri lane here from Well Played, but also much harder to attack into. Well, perhaps not much harder, but still very hard to attack into. Shadow Demon and Nyx Assassin very disruptive in any sort of aggressive play. That does not mean that they won't be able to do a lot of work in shutting down the Phantom Lancer and his early farm. This will be absolute free farm here for Richard Nixon Assassin down bottom with the abandoned lane. Which is nice, though ultimately they probably could have had a hero do more with that farm than a Darkseer. But he won't complain. There is, of course, the danger of, if this lane does not go one way early on, of the rotations of Typhoon to make the difference. Of course, the first couple levels, the Lifestealer is always going to be low health and not really going to be able to provide anything. I'm interested to see what build he ends up going, if he's going to go, pub style and rush a Midas off no boots, or if he's going to take a different tact. as the supports rotate around to look to contest the pull, throw down a ward right in the middle of sentry range. Got to keep an eye on the sentry ward timing to make sure he kills that ward before it runs out. Riptide going to steal just a little bit. Please kill this. You know it's there. Oh, that is a sentry ward. This is now bothering me quite a bit. How can you not see this? But that could be a nice break there for well played, as Bad Fetus finds himself an invis rune. Going to move back in towards mid. Does not have meld. Does not have quite as much burst, but Banon a little low. So could be dangerous with the refraction and right clicks, but doesn't bother to try and harass. Just denies out a creep and goes back to farming. Playing it safe. Invoker can be a dangerous hero to try and go on. Can be turned around very quickly with Cold Snap in the early going. Boots on the way for Typhoon, so not going for that rushed Midas, which I do like. As mentioned, Lifestealer in the jungle a little slow. And he isn't the one carry in this game. Checking it on the last hits. Of course, Richard Nixon, Assassin on top of the board in the free farm lane. Next up, we have our jungling Lifestealer at 15. Of course, those are jungle creeps, so not quite as efficient. More important numbers are the dead even lane, 13 and 8 versus 12 and 8 in the mid lane. In the aggressive tri lane, right now, Silva sitting at 9 last hits. Kirkiki a bit ahead at 13 with 7 denies. But there's a disruption. Are they looking to go? The ensnare holds back Teal Tonic, but they're able to finish off, not holding him out long enough or far enough back. And the impale is enough to bring down Kirkiki. First blood goes to the defensive tri lane. As mentioned, a tough lane to go up against. Double damage activated now on Bad Fetus. The first kill hurts, but is recoverable if you give it up in an aggressive tri lane. If you give up one more, that's about it. Normally, you just can't continue what you're doing and you have to rotate. They don't want to do that, but they can if they have to. Tonic sitting on 900 gold has not spent any of his first blood gold. Next set of wards is available to be bought as a salve is being sent out to Banon, who's a bit low. Does have Quas to heal up a bit, but would like to do that a bit quicker than standing around in lane, being perhaps a bit vulnerable. TP down bottom from Typhoon. Realizing that, hey, there's no reason to abandon this lane. But right now he's behind the Dark Seer, so that makes it tougher. But with the lane pushed up, he can do just fine here. Though having a little trouble under the tower getting those last hits. Silva finding what farm he can. 23 last hits so far, so not terrible all things considered. In mid, Bad Fetus trying to be aggressive. Not able to really accomplish a whole lot. Activates the regen rune and TP's top as action is happening. Impale hits on 2. The ensnare on Arch will be his death as Bad Feet is doing work. There's the trap. Does not hit on anybody as Teal Tonic dodges out, TPing out, and he'll get out just fine. And that ends up just being the death of Arch and nothing more. Cost of TP scroll there on Bad Fetus and leaving the mid lane. A nice win, but certainly could have been worse for Raiders. As Bad Fetus returns. But you see the rotations there. 1 kill on a support spread across 4 heroes. Are they trying to go on Underix? Soul Catcher. 1 more right click is enough to bring him down, but now Teal Tonic in trouble. Disruption to keep him alive. Arch now getting right click down as the damage is being stolen. Kirkiki is a monster right now, but can't stand and fight. Getting too low. Does not have enough mana for Spirit Lance, and no, too aggressive. Out of Teal Tonic, chasing too far. Riptide brings him down. Eyes got too wide for his mouth. And that one backfires. 3-2 now the score on the board. And that's where you see it start to turn around. Underix now bottom for the time being. As Richard Nixon Assassin is helping push out this top tower. Which, again, will be nice for Typhoon. The dual core. Often you see the 4 protect 1 on the Phantom Lancer. It's not necessarily because you can't afford the farm for it. It's more along the lines of, can you afford the time and space for it? So if Raiders are managing well enough in the early to early mid game, in their lanes and finding farm, I feel this dual core will really work out. But the pressure is going to be the real contentious factor. Can they hold up to it? If they can, I think they're in a really good spot. But that's the big question. Can they? We're seeing the first sign of pressure up top as there's 4 here pushing out the tower. The Invis on Bad Fetus. Does not have a position as of yet. Still half the time left on that Invis rune. No initiation as of yet, and here they go. Kirkiki looking to static link, not committing as the wave is pulled back and not quite able to get in a good position. Going to go for the wraparound. Bad Fetus Invis rune running out. Any moment now. Spots out the courier. Only treads though, not phase. Cannot catch up. Only 1 point in the side blades, not enough. Invis runs out. They know he's there. Trap thrown down. Not really around anything. Disruption out on Naga as my screen goes crazy by accident. And now the fight begins. Arch getting bursted with the Riptide. And the ult out of Kirkiki. Double kill bringing down both supports. Silva cut the hell out of dodge very quickly. The push continues here from Banan. Doing what Invoker does. Hangs out in mid. Needs to up those levels. Many would say most level-dependent hero in the game. So very different from the way you see the rotations coming out of Bad Fetus and Templar Assassin, where you want to make things happen with that huge early game damage to help you and your team snowball. Has a force staff up, doing relatively well in that regard. Now there's 4 headed to mid, 3 already there. As Bad Fetus trucks it back. Banon, the sole holdout at the moment. Haste activated along with the double damage on Richard Nick's assassin, who picks up his arcane boots. Trap thrown out. But not going in. Mana Burn was tossed out from Teal Tonic on the sidelines. While up top, see the PL special. The good old AFK split push. The misclick dust, unfortunate for Arch. Down bottom, got the 2 supports along with Richard Nixon Assassin.
Dire structures are fortified. Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Pushing down that tier 1. Support a little slow to the party, a little late. And they should be able to get this. We'll see if they try and sneak a deny. Nope, not willing to do so. And the last right click going the way of Underix. Now moves in towards mid. Recalling whom? Richard Nixon Assassin. Now looking to push down mid once again. The Invis rune once again on Bad Fetus. Finding a whole lot of Invis runes this game. Up top has devolved into a 1v1 between Silva and Kirkiki. Rotation. Lurking in the tree line is Teal Tonic. Now willing to move in. Still only level 4, so there's no vendetta.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Typhoon does not have a TP scroll, and that is a big concern. Silva does not have a TP scroll. You can grab one right now. Get a TP scroll. Normally, preferably you don't want to have to TP. You want your team to deal with it, but you should be carrying it, and you want to be able to move in if there are kills because they're diving too aggressively. So far, just a bit of a standoff. As we do have a pause out of Banon. As we look at the state of things, 15 minutes in, graphs, we see the gold advantage from the tower pushes. And a large part of that also being the free farm out of the Dark Seer going to sing. That of Typhoon on the Lifestealer. But all of that pushing has a cost, and that is your experience. See, not nearly as much of an experience advantage for Raiders as it is a gold advantage for well played. But it's also not all one way. So if they can't snowball off of that gold advantage and continue the push, continue the pressure, or at least convert those into a big kill advantage, then it can easily turn around if that map control doesn't translate into a bigger and bigger lead. Because the towers on your side become a bank for the opposing team of gold they eventually get to catch up. Especially if you're conceding an experience advantage. But it looks like we're ready to go once again, and we should have action here momentarily in toward mid as they look, as Well Played looks to force out this tier 1 mid tower, the last tier 1 standing for Raiders of the Lost Slark. And ensnare thrown out on Anon in too deep and gets brought down. The right clicks cold snap out of the two heroes. Disruption, the Sunstrike does hit on Richard Nixon Assassin, but back into the wall. Illuminate over top. Teal Tonic running through. Will he be brought down? The trap. And now gets in close enough to get the right click. Waiting. What happened? No right click. Now has to meld. Doesn't get the kill. The deafening blast pushes out of meld, and that's it. Bad feet is brought down. I'm not sure what happened with Nick's Assassin. Perhaps just barely out of attack range. I was sure he got within range. But miraculously, Teal Tonic surviving. And that means a pretty big win in mid for the Raiders. Alacrity cast on himself, but not then forced staffing back. Takes some damage for his trouble, but nothing else. We'll want to heal up though. Regen some mana and some health. All the while, Tranquil's Drum and 1,300 gold here on Silva. How you doing? He's third on the net worth board. He's about dead even with Kirkiki. Mana burn along with right clicks out of a non-cold snap as well. Will it be enough? It should be. No! At the last second, the mech saves him. But the impale out on Soldaku, the demonic purge and right clicks, that's enough. But Non doing work in this game. The kill deaths. That score all tied up. And Well Played going to have to regroup and re-strategize, take another approach at pushing down these towers. We see the graph coming right back around, and then because of the investment, the experience advantage starts to go more significantly the way of Raiders of the Lost Slark. Up top, continuing to farm the rotation here from Richard Nixon Assassin, who we saw has that finished mechanism. Kirkiki looking to close in on his BKB. About 400 gold short of that. Next up, could be a Yule Scepter, could be a Sheepstick for Banan. Will we have an initiation? No. Kirkiki turns around, not willing to commit 3v3 up here right now. Double ion shell, gotta be careful of walking into that, it can be quite a lot of damage. Bad Fetus now looking to rotate and make something happen. TP coming in out of Typhoon. Vendetta from Teal Tonic. He does still have enough for an impale. Sentry thrown down right on time. Ensnare over top. Gets the Vendetta hit though, and the impale on Soldaku. Sunstrike as well with the Spirit Lance. That's enough to bring him down. But what about the rest of the fight? Behind the scenes, Typhoon is taken out as well. The nuke coming out of Kirkiki. The slow. Teal Tonic, the trap trying to bring him down. Can he escape once again? Actually, a kill coming out of Banan. Kirkiki diving. Does get the kill on Arch. But can he survive as well? Ion Shell doing work. Gets brought down. Silva, can he get away? Ion Shell being used as Silva runs back. The trap. as it runs out, but no, deafening blast. Anon trying to turn this around, and no, does. And there's a gem, and they'll spot it out. Delayed it just a little bit with the refraction,
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
but not able to get out of there, diving too far. Score now 10-8 in favor of Raiders. A little overconfidence showing through for well played, and it's getting turned around. Too close. Those kind of plays right now. And swinging a bit further. It started off pretty well for well played, but there is a very chaotic fight. The Raiders managed to turn into their favor. In mid, Richard Nixon assassin with the cold snap, and the Soul Catcher taking a lot of damage. Actually, Demonic Purge as well, I believe. Yes, indeed. But not enough to bring him down. Very hard to take out. Traps being thrown out. Just as an annoyance, nothing more at this point.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Typhoon slowly making progress. He's behind the 3 cores of well played, but not by a whole lot. Meanwhile, bigger story. Silva leading the way on the Phantom Lancer. Much different than the Alchemist game in game 1. And then you've got Banon doing work as the Invoker sitting in the number 2 slot in net worth. The Illusion Rune being pinged out. Disruption thrown out on Bad Fetus. Is able to burst down Banon, but pays for it. Now trying to turn this into a kill. The ensnare out on Typhoon. He's got no way out. The infest is available as needed. He does infest. Goes into an enemy creep. He should have immediately burst out of there for the health if he was intending... If he was going to go in that enemy creep. You regain the health of the creep. So if you do it at full health on a creep, then you regain a lot more. If you wanted to escape, you could have hopped into an ally. The split decision there not working out as the escape that he needed. Ends up going down 11-10. Well played, pulling it back just a little bit. Big kills, particularly on Banon, bringing him down. How much gold did he get out of that? 317. Okay. Oh, no, wait. That was for the Lifestealer. 551 gold for that mega kill streak. That's what I was looking for. Desolator well on the way. 200 gold away. So if with the last hits from this wave, should be enough to finish it up. There we go. That's enough for the recipe, and it's being shipped out. Desolator is done. Skipped blink for it. This going treads Desolator. Going to be doing a lot of damage, but not a whole lot of mobility. No phase, no drums, no Yasha. So movement speed not there, relying very heavily on his allies and Trap to be able to chase. But once within range, we'll be doing a lot of damage. Kings going out as we look to run into another big fight. Haste Rune opportunistic here on Bad Fetus. Disruption. Very good holding him back. Now the Forged Spirits moving ahead. Illuminate over top. Trap thrown behind the tower. Both sides jockeying for position. going to be looking for the initiation. Again, we're not seeing a whole lot of song for initiation, but as I say that, in they come, two in a really bad position. Silva and Arch, vacuum. There it is. Arch instantly down. The Doppel walk away from Silva. Oh, Impale hits! Oh, hits 4 out of 5. Now Typhoon going to work. That armlet is up with Rage. Diffusal Blade. The Purge used to slow him down. Now trying to chase out on Richard Nixon Assassin. No way to catch up. The target needs to be Underix. Are they going to catch him? The Force Staff, unfortunately, not in the best direction, but they're going to try and cut him off here. Underix going to juke into the trees. Can he TP out of here? He has the TP scroll. The pings go out. There we go. Canceled with the tornado and brings him down. That's 4 for 1. The initiation looked great on Arch and Silva. The problem was it was only those two. The Doppel walk away. The vision was not there. They didn't bring him down as well. Just got a support. Impale hits 4 and turns that fight completely around. Gave all the room in the world for Typhoon to go to work. And that's what Lifestealer can do. Phase, armlet, and he's doing damage. Oh, Impale, they are able to catch up to Bad Fetus. They're able to bring him down. Now the Purge used on the Naga Siren down. Kirkiki in trouble. Right click. Now Kirkiki's down. Raiders of the Lost Slark taking every advantage. They're just going to call it GG right there.
Radiant's top tower has fallen.
From even to GG in a matter of 2 minutes. I'm not so sure. The graph, unfortunately, appears to be broken right now. I wouldn't have necessarily called that in the position of well played, but they may have just been seeing the writing on the wall. 2 big team fight losses, and when you're up against a Phantom Lancer along with the Lifestealer without an enormous amount of late game, Razor being your 1 carry, can understand just saying, you know what, let's just call it there and not just be frustrated. Series goes 1-1. A draw between these two. Well played, taking game 1. Raiders of the Lost Slark pulling it back and taking game 2. I'm Mr. Ron for Terrible Terrible Damage, bringing you that Reddit Dota 2 League match. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you next time.